My spidey senses were tingling.
All right, we're going to call our meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Town of East Bridgewater Planning Board. It's Monday evening, June 5th. And due to town meeting being scheduled at 7 o'clock and the fact that we cannot be meeting while town meeting is in session, our meeting is starting at 6 p.m. tonight. And officially, for the record, we're going to call it 6:02 p.m. Currently present for the board are regular members Roy Gardner, Kevin Riley, Diane Phillips, Rachel Tedesco, and John Lawler. We are planning to reorganize tonight. Our sixth regular member is commuting here, so we're going to hold off on reorganizing, hopefully until she makes it. We're gonna have to wait just a minute or two before we can actually open the public hearing for
Mr. Chairman,
the road extension.
if appropriate, meanwhile, I would make a motion to approve to waive the formal reading of the minutes of May 1, 2023, and to approve them in the form presented. Get that little piece of business done.
Do you need a second for that?
Want a second?
Depends
Yeah.
on whether the chairman wants to hear the motion or not.
Oh,
Let's have a second so we can have a quick discussion.
How often do you get somebody volunteer for something? I mean, you know.
I'm new, I'm not sure.
That's right.
Let's have a quick second so we can have a
Okay,
discussion.
I second Mr. Riley's
All
motion.
right, so we have a motion, Riley, second Tedesco, to approve the minutes, and I believe actually it's the minutes of May 15th.
May
Is that correct? Because the minutes of May 15th say we approve the minutes of May 1st.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm reading the wrong thing
Oh,
here, yes.
okay.
Indeed, May 15. Stand
Okay, so
corrected.
we'll modify that motion. Is that okay with you,
Yes, it
Rachel?
is.
Okay. So the motion on the table is to accept the minutes of Monday, May 15th, 2023. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All those opposed? And we'll show that as unanimous vote of all five.
I would abstain since I was not present, but
All right, so we'll show that as unanimous vote, four in favor, none opposed, with one abstention. So, therefore, those minutes are accepted. So the time is actually 6:05 at this point, so we're gonna go ahead and open the public hearing for what we're calling River Road Extension, which is technically speaking, a two-lot definitive subdivision, or a Form B subdivision, that comes off the cul-de-sac of River Road. And I'll start by reading the notice of public hearing that was published in the Brockton Enterprise on Monday, May 1st, 2023, and Monday, May 8th, 2023. The Planning Board of the Town of East Bridgewater will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 15th. I'm sorry, we already actually did this, right? So I don't really actually need to read the public hearing notice again, since it was already read on May 15th when we opened the public hearing. And we did continue the public hearing until tonight, so. In terms of items that need to be discussed tonight, we received dated June 1st, 2023, the technical review for the subdivision plans from Environmental Partners. The next step would normally be that the PMP Associates that's doing the engineering plans for the subdivision would respond to Environmental Partners with how they're going to address each of those items, and that we have a meeting of the minds between both Environmental Partners and PMP Associates as to how we're going to proceed with that. So I do know that Patrick Carrera is up front here on the representing the River Road extension applicant, so at this point in time, I'll ask Patrick if he wants to at least discuss that in in some superficial level of detail, that technical review as to where they are with that in conjunction with environmental partners.
Okay. Thank you, Roy. Packer R from PMP Consulting, representing the applicant at Badger. Yeah, so we received these comments today, as I think most of everybody did. Ellen emailed them to me right around noontime. I did have a chance to read through them and kind of make some notes. And I think my biggest issue with their comments is that they're assuming that we need to file a general stormwater permit on this project where we don't. We only need to file an administrative permit. We're disturbing just over 10,000 square feet of land. And this actually meets the requirements as laid out in the bylaw and regulations as a redevelopment, because it's an existing disturbed area with an existing, driveway grading. There's no native vegetation that we're disturbing, but we are disturbing more than 5,000 square feet, so it does meet the requirements under a redevelopment for an administrative permit. And because of that, because we only need to file for an administrative permit, it really renders a lot of their comments kind of null and void.
Okay, so I did realize there was obviously some assumptions made in their report. And I think those assumptions were to some extent made because they couldn't tell for sure exactly what was going to be done on the site over and above what was actually shown on the subdivision plan, and that has to do with the physical location of the house and how much work's going to have to be
The
done.
lot, correct.
Where the lot is itself.
Yep.
So I think if the information that validates your estimate that you're within the lower threshold permit is provided to our environmental partners, then that should answer that question.
I think so, and I'm sure they're not aware that when we started this, we actually did file at the time, because it was required, a general permit for the lot. Of course, with everything that's transpired since then, we never really moved forward with that. There was questions from Conservation Commission as they were handling stormwater permitting at the time, which of course has all changed now. So even though we had filed a general permit for the lot, I understand we're gonna have to refile for the lot. But just so everybody's aware, and we'll get on the record, the disturbance in the lot was about 29,000 square feet.
Okay.
So we add that to the 10,000 for the road, we're at 39,000, we're still under an acre, even if we include the lot.
Okay.
But we are handling these separately because obviously this will change a little bit what we're doing on the lot, because now we're improving the roadway. And they would be filing separate notices of intent. I've already discussed that with Alex at Conservation. He would like separate notices of intent for the roadway and for the lot.
Okay, and for the record, I'd like to note that member Sherry Bates is here, and it's 6:10 PM. All right, so given that, Patrick, and the fact that we need a consensus between PMP and environmental partners on the questions that are on that report, which I'll assume and give you the benefit of doubt, most of those are gonna go away in terms of the subdivision application. So as fate will have it, our next normally scheduled meeting is June 19th, which is a state holiday. So then the following meeting that we would then have would be July 3rd. I do believe that is our next meeting scheduled. Is that correct? July 3rd?
Well, that July starts our summer schedule, so it's actually July 17th.
Okay.
Unless we make other arrangements.
Okay, you're right, I've got that. It is July 17th.
So,
So before we make a motion to continue the public hearing to July 17th, I'd just like to ask if there's anyone in the room here that has any questions on the River Roads subdivision or comments on the River Road subdivision. Feel free to raise your hand and identify yourself. Yes.
Mayor Joe Martin on River Road. I was here last time. Again, I just want some kind of an assurance from somebody that water issues in the area are going to be taken care of, and it's not going to be taken care of by dumping it in my basement because the way the land is. And I know nobody can promise anything because nature will do what it will, but I want to make sure that the issues are addressed and that if something does happen, because it isn't, properly set up, that there's remediation of some kind to correct any problems.
Well, the way this works is they have to present a set of engineering plans that our engineering review company, which is Environmental Partners, shows that there will be no net increase of runoff from that site, pre-development to post-development. And so far, that's the target goal we're aiming for.
Right.
So, beyond that, I can't, I can't guarantee anything, and we can't guarantee it. It's important that it's physically constructed to the plans that get approved, and the assumption is that those approved plans, based on the review by our reviewing engineer, will in fact show that there's no new runoff created that isn't accommodated in a drainage system that gets into a safe location.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't know how this whole thing works, and I just want to cover my bases
Yeah.
ahead of time rather than come back after.
Valid questions. Anyone else here? All right, any members of the board have any questions?
Pat, what do you make of the comments with regard to the potential for ponding that are brought up on the general comment section of the EP letter?
I think there's a few things they're not really looking at very well, Kevin. I think one of the things they're not looking at is the existing contours with the existing driveway. One of those areas they're talking about the west side of the road. There's already depressions in there that already pond, and those depressions extend off the site. So there's nothing we can do to address those because we can't obviously fill somebody else's property. And if we start trying to fill in our side of River Road where the depressions are, it's only gonna push those depressions onto the abutting property and cause problems on the abutting property. And we have a situation down there now where, if you've ever been down there, yeah, there are some depressions in that area that do currently pond, but eventually that water either seeps into the ground or makes it to the catch basins out at River Road. So with that development of this, we want to try to upset that as little as possible, which is why we super elevated the road to the east and took it into that swale, which will actually be able to capture it and direct it into the drainage system out at River Road. That's the idea of trying to do, meet the requirements for access and improve it, but at the same time, try to disturb the area as little as possible. We just don't have much to work with. That's what it comes down to. So, in light of the fact that we're not gonna have another actual planning board meeting until the 17th, I would like to have permission to, one, is this something we can discuss in the track meeting as well, Roy?
Certainly.
I'd like to be able to do that if possible. Again, try to work this all out before we get to the next planning board meeting, between the track committee and environmental partners.
Yeah, certainly, you're always free to request time with the track group. And I would expect, given the length of time there, we should be able to work all of that out between yourself and environmental partners.
Okay. All right, so we'll start with the track committee, and then we'll formulate our formal response and work with environmental partners on that.
Okay. All right, given that there was no other questions, I'm going to ask that we put a motion on the table to continue the public hearing until Monday, July 17th at 7:15 PM.
So moved.
So that's a motion. Riley, do you have a second?
I'll second it.
A motion, Riley, second, Lawler. All those in favor of the motion to continue the public hearing for River Road Extension, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Show that as 6 in favor, none opposed.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Okay, next item on the agenda was going to be a continuation of a public hearing for Hickory Hill Development on the north side of Central Street. We have received a request due to a major change in the drainage for that to continue that public hearing until July 17th, 2023. So if I could have a motion to continue the public hearing for Hickory Hill Development on the north side of Central Street, which is a Form B definitive subdivision, Residence 2 property, to be continued until July 17th at 7:30 PM.
So moved.
So that's a motion, Riley. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion Riley, second Lawler. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we'll show that as 6 in favor, none opposed. That's a unanimous vote of all members present and voting. All right, so a couple of quick things we're going to discuss here. Okay, the first of those items is a quick update on the MBTA Community Zoning Project. We have received some documentation back from Old Colony Planning Council, which is basically a first draft of some of the things that we're looking at. Just for everyone's understanding, we are looking at potentially rezoning 2 areas. One of those areas is the area between the Whitman Town Line, Route 18, and Winter Street, down what would amount to, I believe, about 600 yards south of the Whitman line towards Highland Street. That would be area number 1. The second area would be the downtown area, with the land that goes up along Spring Street. Would include basically the land on either side of Spring Street, including the land that is currently behind, I don't know, I guess we can call it for clarity, the Ocean State Job Lot Shopping Center. It'd be the land behind that. Those are the 2 areas that we're working with. It'll probably be a month or 2 until such time as we've actually got draft language for those 2 districts. I can say the intent of that is that the underlying zoning will not change. They'll both be overlay districts, which will mean that all of the uses that are currently allowed in those 2 districts would still be allowed. The overlay would allow uses that are defined under state law under the MBTA Community Zoning Project. That's kind of where we are right now. We should have some mapping available to display, and it will be posted, I believe, through the town clerk's office, although maybe through the selectman's office. Basically, in simple terms, the MBTA Community Zoning Law, which is a state law, requires that we address at least 1 area in town, and preferably 2 areas in town under the state law, that would allow up to 500 units of multifamily housing. So, although it does have to be adopted at town meeting, which would probably be annual town meeting of 2024, it's not clear what happens if town meeting doesn't vote in the affirmative. It would require a 50% affirmative vote, a 50% or more affirmative vote to adopt those. So there's a bit of ambiguity in state law, since state law says it's mandatory for each town to do so. And I'm not gonna try and offer a legal opinion as to what that actually means. Because the state hasn't actually said exactly what that means to this point, so. Next item for quick discussion is Tower Heights Phase 5. There was some confusion on multiple sides here as to which lot we were going to release on at Tower Heights. We did do a partial lot release and released one lot at Tower Heights, which, for better or for worse, ended up being Lot 3, to be known as 8 Selfridge Drive, which is not the lot that the developer is attempting to sell right now based on his customer's needs. So the building inspector has agreed with the planning board that they will limit issuance of building permits to one building permit for Southridge Drive based on the current bond that's in place. And until such time as there is additional bond monies placed and there is an additional lot release, that he will not issue more than that single building permit. So from the standpoint of what was originally intended, we have the amount of money that was intended to cover release of one lot.
I have a question.
Yes.
Was there any intent to change which lot it was, or are we gonna just stay with that?
Because of how that works and traceability at the Registry of Deeds, there's no easy way to fix that without creating a traceability nightmare at the registry.
Okay,
So what we will do is, when it comes time to sell, what appears right now is actually going to be Lot 4, not Lot 3. Prior to that being sold, the developer will have to come in sometime shortly before he can sell it and get another lot release for the correct lot. And we'll then record that so that that gets recorded prior to the actual sale.
okay,
So that way, when some attorney, and I'm sure they will for a bank, does the title search, the correct lot release will be at the registry, and there won't be an attempt to rescind a previous lot release and then put in a new lot release, and the traceability problem that creates at the registry.
got it.
So it should be fairly clean at that
Is there
point.
any sense of imminence with regard to that sale of 4?
Oh, no, he just got a building permit. I think, has he got the building permit now, Ellen?
Yes.
Yes, he just got the building permit. So it's
The ways out.
probably months away. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Yep,
And there's multiple parties who were somewhat at fault there. We went round and round over lots 3, lots 4, lot 5, back to lot 3, then back to lot 5, and
gotcha.
it got very confusing. Originally, it was going to be 2 lots, it was going to be 3 and 4, then 5 and 4, then back to... In any case, we have a solution, everyone seems okay with it. So to avoid having conflicting documents at the registry, that appears to be the cleanest way to do it. Okay?
Thank you, yes.
All right, and again, hopefully, within 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, we should have some preliminary maps and some preliminary language on potential overlay zoning districts for those 2 areas we've just described. As soon as we start to put those together, and potentially with the information we currently have, although the information we currently have was to respond directly to what I would call a bunch of somewhat convoluted questionnaires from the state. Trying to read that information, which was posted by OCPC electronically to us last week, is, at best, I would say, confusing. I need to spend more time trying to read that to understand exactly what they're saying. We do have 2 draft maps that were included with that. We need to look at those as a planning board prior to posting those to make sure that those do address the 2 areas we think they do. The bad news is that the planner at OCPC that was doing that work for us has taken another job, so she is no longer going to be there. I'm not sure who is going to take over that for them at Old Colony Planning Council. That hasn't been identified yet. but that should be identified very shortly as well, so,
Okay.
okay? All right, so given that, I think that addresses everything that's on our agenda for tonight, with the exception of Mr. Burgess. Some questions about potential additional lot releases for Daisy Lane.
Yes, yeah, Scott Burgess, I'm here for Daisy Lane, off Central Street.
Can you come up to the table, if you would, Scott, where the microphone is?
On the 26th of May, T.L. Edwards went up there, they put the binder on the second half of the road. Has anybody been up there?
Yes.
Okay, so you see that the road's
So the engineer has actually reviewed that and given us a report, so.
Okay, yeah,
So two issues on how this needs to work.
sure.
As it currently stands, the current bond amount that we're holding, based on a quick discussion with the engineer, is enough to cover the work that still needs to be done on Phase 1.
Right,
So a new bond amount that we could set would be roughly equivalent to the existing bond amount.
great.
So it would be approximately another $100,000.
Yeah, well, right now, there's 140 already put aside for the first half of the road. So the letter of credit you would want for an additional 100,000?
That's a rough estimate that we got, but I'm still waiting for environmental partners to come back to us and with an answer to a couple of questions which we still don't have yet. And
Okay.
one of those questions is, and wasn't included in the original bond amount, is how we're gonna fix that basin
Right,
that's between, I think it's address 3 and address 5.
right. Okay,
That's still an open issue, and I know your engineer is working on that.
Yeah.
And Environmental Partners is waiting to see what they come up with, so that they can review it jointly with your engineer to try and decide how to,
Yeah,
How to proceed.
I'd be thrilled to get it done. You know, it's just a thorn in my side right now. I'll do whatever I need to do. At this point, I guess we're gonna scrape a couple inches of, loom off the bottom, silty material, get rid of that. I'm gonna bind the rest of this shoulder. It's already bound up pretty good with the weather we've had, and we're gonna put a little more seed on it. And when the two get together, we'll do what they ask,
okay.
okay? And a good thing too is T.L. Edwards, the binder for the first half of the road was, for the second half of the road was 70 grand. And it actually went down because the fuel costs have gone down. So whatever you need, I'd be more than happy to get the letter of credit. I've already spoke with the bank about it, prior to coming here.
So I'm hoping that within probably a week to 10 days, we should have that estimate done and ready
Okay.
with an actual number on it.
Mhm.
And then we can go from there.
Okay. All right, sounds good. You guys will create the document?
Yes.
I'll sign it, and then it'll come here, you'll sign it, and the rest of the lots will be released.
Actually, I think the bank creates the document based on the
Did they
template.
create it, the last one?
Well, we gave them the template, and then they created it.
Okay, all right.
They need to create that because they're the ones that are holding the money.
Right, and they have the first half, and you tell them the number, and we'll take care of it.
Yes.
Last time we all met, we took care of it. If we could do that again, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would expect we'd do the same process.
Mhm.
We'll all get together probably in the small meeting room next to the planning building department and take care of it.
All right, one more question. Right now, the first half of the road, all 7 of the homes are built. Put the sidewalk in, up to, to the second half of the the subdivision. So what I'd like to do is, put one foundation in just, for now, while we're waiting to get this paperwork created, if that would be all right.
Yeah, so we don't have any problem with foundation permits as long as the building inspector's okay with that, as long as you understand you can't put anything on the foundation until the lots are released. Right.
Right, but should I assume that, and before the next meeting, we'll have the document done, as long as I have my paperwork created? Because if you give me
I
a
would-
number,
I
I
would-
could do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say at the latest, it would be by the next meeting. It won't be that long. We'll have the estimate done well before that, so
Right, okay.
your banker should have plenty of time to look that over, decide what he needs to do to
Yeah, we'll just
put
duplicate it, yeah.
together the,
Okay,
and I'm gonna ask to maybe try and oversimplify this a little bit, but
sure.
since this is technically a tri-party agreement that's being held by the bank with an amount of money that the bank guarantees they will give us if we call default. Is the best way to do that to simply add that to the current tri-party agreement, draft a new tri-party agreement that includes the entire subdivision for Daisy Lane, or to have it totally separate from a leak? Do you see any real difference between having two and having one with a larger number?
From the developer's perspective, probably to do one with a larger number would be most efficient. And I think that would maybe better protect the town as well in the long run.
So let's assume that we're gonna do that, Scott, that we're gonna ask the bank to revise the language in the current to include the current bond estimate for phase one, as well as whatever the additive amount is for phase two, in a revised tri-party agreement that has a single number for the total of everything,
Sounds good.
all right?
Yep, sounds easy.
And I'll draft some stuff together that you can forward on to your, again, I should have it together within a week to 10 days with the actual additional estimate document for the second half,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Chairman, just before we let Mr. Burgess go, I don't know if folks have had an opportunity to review the observation report that was generated by EP. It's dated June 2nd. Having been down there, the one concern that I have is for the folks in the first house, I believe it's number 3, which comments that were made in this report seem to suggest that, based on the design, drainage, the drainage pond 2, farther down the road, apparently has an easier fix. Scrape the silt, as you say, and that hopefully solves that problem. Drainage pond 3, however, the observation is that they expect permanent standing water as a result of the design in that pond. And if that is correct, then I personally see an issue with that, basically because.
Well, that's why they're working to fix that.
Right, but,
Their engineer has to come up with a solution to that.
right, so I mean, that's gotta be, that seems to be a more dramatic solution that's going to be necessary based on the way, it's not simply a matter of,
Well, it
pulling
could,
that.
it could be a simple matter if they can just raise the bottom of that basin enough so that it's not below the level of the wetlands that are right behind it. The engineers are working on that as to whether or not they can do that.
And I guess then the other comment, which seems to be a simple one, was that silt sacks to be installed in the.
That was done the day after,
Okay.
that was done before I got the report back. So that was done in the binding of the grass, and we've had some, we've been watering, so that's all done.
Excellent.
I believe me, I'm stuck in the middle. I'm the guy that bought the property, the plans.
Yep.
Right, so in the midst of it all, the town approved the plan. You guys, I pay environmental partners for you guys, and I pay my engineer. Nobody picked up on the problem. So I guess the way that they're thinking about solving the problem is to scrape the bottom of the pond, raise it up a little bit, block off what was gonna go in the wetlands, because the wetlands elevation was wrong from the beginning. I guess that's my problem.
Well, we're still not sure.
Shouldn't be, but it is, I
We're-
guess.
Well, it is because you're, not your engineer,
Well, I
but
know, but there's so many people that are a lot smarter than me that just overlook
the
this
applicant's
thing.
engineer is the one who did that, so we
Right.
can't, we
Right.
can't.
Right, but
And
I'm
the
all
question-
game to make it right. I'm just not quite smart enough or sure how we're gonna do that.
As long as that's your approach, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, well, it is.
Wants to be.
Yeah.
I think
don't
from-
walk away from anything, I walk through it.
I think from the discussion I had with the survey guy that was doing the work for your engineer, your current engineer, while I was there with him, said he's still not sure as to whether or not the basin itself was put in deeper than it should have been, or the wetlands level behind it is higher than was estimated, or there's a combination of the two problems. He's still
Right.
not sure of that.
Right,
And he was doing spot shots all over the place to try and sort that out.
right. And one of the things that they're gonna do is they're gonna block that catch basin off from the wetlands, because it was actually seeping and perking back into the ground better before it got opened up. So that tells me that,
Well,
elevation of the wetlands
before
is
it got opened up, the wetlands wasn't flowing back into the basin. I
Right,
know
right,
that.
right, right. That's what happened, right.
But if that's gonna be the fix, and that is there still has to be some kind of outlet there for an emergency overflow if we get a 100-year storm.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
So
But I
we
mean,
can
but
work,
I've talked to them a few different times, and I've spoke with you about it too, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm waiting for them to give me, you know, the professional answer of it, you know?
okay,
Oh, my God.
all right,
Thanks, Scott.
all right, thank you, Scott.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, so we've got all 6 regular members of the board. We do have a vacancy on the board, as we've noted before. So all 6 regular members that are currently the elected serving regular members are here and present. So at this time, I think I'm going to make a motion that we reorganize. And I'll start by nominating Kevin Riley as chairman for the next year.
I'll second that.
Okay, so that's a motion, Gardner, second Lawler. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right, I'll defer on the other 2 positions to let other members make the motions.
I'd make a motion that Mr. Gardner be appointed as vice chairman for the next year.
I'll second that.
And
Okay, so-
also, just by way, for clarity purposes, that Mr. Gardner maintain his position as planning board representative to the track committee.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table from Riley with a second Lawler. For myself, Mr. Gardner to be the vice chairman and the representative from the planning board to the track committee. Any discussion on that motion?
No.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, at this point, I'd like to make a motion that member Sherry Bates be elected as the clerk. That's the technical, yes, clerk is the correct name, not secretary, clerk of the planning board, but I would ask, first of all, if she'd be willing to accept that position?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Second the motion.
So I will nominate Sherry Bates. We have a second, that's a motion, Gardner. Second, Riley, to elect Sherry Bates as our clerk for the coming year. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we'll show that as unanimous vote of all 6 regular members present and voting. Thank you all for that. Now, given the time, unless we have something critical that needs to be addressed, we should adjourn and head over to the town meeting, so.
I'll second that.
No, you gotta make, you're making the motion. That's the Lawler motion. Come on. That's
The law of motion, yeah.
adjournment.
That's what I do.
So we've got a motion, Lawler. Do we have a second to that motion to adjourn and
I second
as much as possible?
I like your style.
I would like to see all of us over at town meeting. I can't make anyone go, obviously, but, so we got a motion, Lawler, second Tedesco to adjourn. It's 6:40 PM. Town meeting officially opens at 7 PM. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed? We'll show that as 6 in favor, none opposed, and I'll declare the meeting adjourned at this time. Thank you.